Okay, this is our video demonstration of the Westbond 74, 77, 76, 77E, which is a convertible head ball bonder. It's currently set up for the, it's a wire bonder. It's currently set up as a ball bonder right now. You can convert it by changing the head out, which is here, and I'll put that on later and do a demonstration on it. So you do have a second head, and that's currently set up as a 45-degree 7400E series. Okay, just one thing to point out, I will send along a toolkit assembly box here, which has the tool that is the case that identifies the tool that's currently installed. It's a capillary. Yeah, it also comes along with a gauge tool setup to set the depth of the tool. Just to demonstrate how that's placed in there is, we'll move this work holder out of the way, is when you go to install a tool, you can use this as a guide. So you just bring it in here and you move it up to the transducer. It's kind of in the way. So that's your, it's explained in the manual. It's, I'll send the manual along with this to help you figure out how to use this. Also, it has a, the option, I'll send this along, I don't have it currently installed, but you can put a radiant heater around the capillary if you want to raise the temperature of the capillary and lower the temperature of the stage. If, for instance, you can't be above 100 degrees, you can set the stage at 100 and then go ahead and add some additional heat with your radiant heater here. Now this gets installed up on the side here. Let's see if I could demonstrate that. So it would go around the capillary and it gets mounted over here, and it'll get plugged in up in this slot right here. Okay. Here's your front panel with your control switches. And one thing I want to point out is with the power off, you power on and off the system using this box here. That's your power supply. Above it is your source for creating the ball for the ball bond, and then you have a temperature controller here for your heated work stage. This heated work stage will then be placed underneath the work, and you can adjust the height by using this knob. It does have this adjustable stage. Well, while we're here, let's go around the back too and just show you how it gets connected. This is your connection for your temperature controller. You have this connector here, as well as the red and the black wire that is used for the electronic flame off. And this is connected to the machine, as well as this plug here. So you have this plug and this plug are connected to the machine, and then you have power for each one of them. We also have a light source, the LED light source, that has its own power. So you basically need a power strip, and you're going to have 4 110 volt plugs that need to be plugged in. And finally, you do have a requirement for compressed air, and it needs to be regulated at 50 psi. So again, this red and black wire is only used to create the ball, and it's used during the ball bonding setup. Okay, again, as I said, this is convertible, so if you press the down switch and turn the power on, it's going to allow you to select which mode you want to use, depending on the head that's installed. Right now we have, we're set up for the 7700E ball bonder, and we're using the ball bond head. If, for instance, you want to change it over to either the deep axis 7600E or the 7400E, you can just go ahead and move the up and down key. I'm not going to change it right now. And then go ahead and hit edit. Okay. So we're currently set up, I believe there's 30 buffers. We'll step through them. Oh, let's go back here. By using a buffer switch. And here you can save your program or your parameters for each bonding operation. Yes, see there's 30. Now let's go back to 1. And then here, by hitting the edit button, you'll step through your parameter settings. Again, this is explained in the manual on what needs to be set, but for instance, this one is going to use, currently use 2 wires. And there is a suggestion here, so I basically set up the machine so it'll work with the suggestions that are on the screen here. So we'll just continue with the edit, just to show you what it looks like. That's your lift before torch. I did lower this a little, and I'll explain why later. This is just counting micro steps on a stepper motor. So I have it set to 280, even though the suggestion is 350. Here's your power. I did increase it a little bit just to get a better bond with the wire I have. You know. That's bond 1, bond 2, so you can set your power, your time. So these are your bond parameters. Your force is, this has the capability of doing either a high or low force. Again, that's explained in the manual. And it's set by using this setup here. Your low force is adjusted back here, and your high force is in the front. Now you can just keep the same force on both. But I'm just going to go ahead and step through this here. And showing that, let's go back one. By hitting escape. Well, let's go back this way. Lift before torch. Here's your power for 1. Power for 2. That's your second bond. Ultrasonics. We have it set at 50 for 1 end. Just for 1 and 2 I have set for 30. Force for bond 1 is low, and bond 2 is high. That's your loop height. And what will happen is you'll get a beep to indicate that on your travel up to the loop that you've reached the loop at that point. And you can set your tail, which is the wire that's left after the second bond. That is used to go ahead and create the ball so that you can proceed to your first bond again. Dual force, you can turn it on or off. I have it on right now. You can calibrate it at this point. You'll need a force gauge similar to this one here. I believe this one is 0 to 50 grams, and you go ahead and just lift up on your till you hear the beep, and that'll set your force. And you can adjust your force by adjusting either one of these settings here. Low is in the back, high is in the front. Again, this is all explained in the manual. You'll have to go through that. So at this point, you can go ahead and calibrate your high, calibrate your low. You can indicate whether or not you want the ball fault on. What will happen if the ball is not created for either an open where no spark is generated, or a short where the wand actually hits the wire, you'll get a fault. That'll indicate up on your panel here, and you'll have to go ahead and fix it and create a ball at that point. Again, explained in the manual how to do that. Beep on contact. So every time you're making a bond, you'll hear a beep noise. And the bond counter here, I have it set to off right now. And then there's suggested that you use a ultrasonic power during the feed. It helps the wire feed through the capillary. And that's the end of your settings. So basically what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and I just want to point out here too is you do have a light switch for your LED, which is right here. And this is movable, and this is beneficial for instance, when you're doing a wire feed, you may want to set the light in the upper position like that, and it puts more of a light onto the, for instance, the feed tube right here. So let's talk about that for a second here. This is using a 1/2 inch wire spool of gold wire, and it's bonding wire. There is a difference between bond gold wire, and wedge gold wire, and it has to do with the percent elongation. Again, that's specified in the manual. You'll need to provide your own gold wire. We do not send this along, but I will send along the capillary, which is it's a Geyser tool. This is the one I currently am using with this setup. I suggest that you purchase your own bond wedges as well as your gold bond wire. And again, you need to specify ball bond wire or typical wedge wire or hard wire for doing your wedge bonding. Again, this is explained in the manual. So looking from this side here, you have your 1/2 inch spool of wire. This is 1 mil gold, and it's first fed through your feed tube. We're out of focus here. Okay, there's a feed tube right here. The wire gets fed through that, and then you'll feed it through the capillary, and then place it in between the clamps. Okay, and in order to do that, you'll need to go ahead and hit the thread option here. And what this does is it's going to open up the clamp for you, which is right here. This is your clamp. I don't know if you can see it, but it is open slightly. So at this point, you're going to feed the wire in. You want to make sure that the wire is in between the two clamp jaws. I can't get a good focus on that. Okay, and then you'll go ahead and bond off onto your I have a test coupon here, which is a gold plated piece of metal. And then once you bond off, it'll go ahead and create the ball for you. So I'll demonstrate that real quick. And you'll see the electronic flame off come underneath the wedge tool. I mean the capillary. So let's go ahead and do this light is bad on this. Let me shut this off for this instance. So by using the handle here, I'm going to go ahead and bring the bond head down until we make contact. You'll hear the beep, and then I'll let it come up. And as that wand came across, it created a spark and then created a ball. The thing to create a ball, and as you're doing bonds, we're now set up to do a bond here. This is at bond 1 parameter. You can go ahead by looking through your microscope. Is line up your bond head, your capillary to where you want to place the bond. And this light is causing problems with the video. So basically, by using your ball here, looking through the microscope, you'll go ahead and place your bond 1. You hear the second beep. The second beep. The first beep was when you made contact. Second beep is when you're at loop height. You'll step back or in whatever direction you need to go in, and then go ahead and make your second bond. At this point, the ball hasn't been formed. This is where you're going to have to lift your control ball here up high enough to create the ball. And you probably seen the spark there. And then again, there was no error on there. The ball was formed properly, so you don't have an open or a short error. And we'll just go through that one more time. We'll just come down and place the bond. Bond 1, lift up, step back, bond 2. Then by releasing this, it's not high enough to create the ball, so you actually have to lift up this lever slightly, and the ball is formed. Again, bond 1. Up till you hear the beep, and then you'll go ahead and you'll step back, bring it back down. Second bond is formed. At this point, there is no tail, but as you lift up, you'll notice that the clamps will push down and the wand will come across. Okay, so that creates your ball. Oh, one other thing to point out too is for ball bonding, you're going to set your temperature to 150 C, your temperature for your work stage. And again, if that's a little too high for the work that you have, you can go ahead and add the radiant heater around the capillary on this side here. I believe it's installed on the wedge bond, so you'll see it when I pull that out. And then it gets plugged in up here. And that's controlled with the tool heat right here. Right now I have it set to 0. But you can increase that, and that'll increase the temperature of the radiant heater, which will increase the temperature of the capillary and the wire inside. Okay, so we'll just set this back to 0. One thing I want to point out too is you'll have to purchase this for yourself. It's a force gram gauge, 0 to 50. I highly recommend that you get a good set of tweezers to grab the wire so that you can feed the wire through that small wire guide, as well as pushing it down through the capillary and then placing it in between the clamps. So you'll need a good set of tweezers, gram force gauge. Recommend a couple additional tools. Capillary tools. I believe Geyser is now part of Small Precision Tool, SPT, and you can go to their website and look for the tools that are available. We do have, we're going to send along the, this is currently set up for a 45-degree wedge bond, and as you can see, it does have the radiant heater connected. So the wedge tool is not installed right now, but it will be placed in the front there and tightened up with that set screw. In order to have this run as a deep access, you'll need to purchase a clamp that's going to be set up slightly different. The clamp will be above the transducer here. And the clamp is the exact same clamp. You can actually use this clamp if needed by taking this one off, but it would be at this exact setup, but they're placing it over here above, so that the clamp is above the transducer. Okay, so this is currently set up as a 45 angle degree wire feed, and that's just where the wire gets fed. That's the bond that the head is installed. It'll feed the wire very similar to this from the 1/2-inch spool of gold wire or aluminum. With the wedge bonding, you can do aluminum wire, and if you're doing aluminum wire, you don't need to increase the heat at all. Aluminum wire is normally done at room temperature. Aluminum wire bonding is done at wedge bonding is done at room temperature. Again, if you're doing gold wedge bonding, they recommend 150 degrees C for your work holder temperature. Okay, again, the installation on how to use the how to switch out the head. It takes maybe 10-15 minutes at the most to do the changeover. It's explained well in the manual. I'm going to go ahead and set it up for this to make sure it works, and then I'm going to go back and put the ball bond setup on. Again, this was set up for the 7400E. Once you change the head out, you'll have to go through the process again here, where you're going to power off the machine. You'll go ahead and press and hold the down button, and then turn the power on, and it'll give you the ability to select what bond head you're using. And for the 4500, the 45-degree angle feed, you would step up to the 7400E, and then hit edit to continue. And then it's going to ask you, do you want to change the mode or the model from 7700E to model 7400E, and you'll go ahead and hit yes. And this is telling you that the clamp motor is at home. That's fine, that's typical. And at this point you can go ahead and adjust the clamp home position, which is, you'll be adjusting where the clamp is positioned behind the tool. This is your clamp here. So as you can see, it's going to move in this direction. And you can position where the home position is for that. It's currently suggested to be at 16, so we'll keep it at that. And then here you'll go through the same process of you'll have your power settings, and I'll just step through that real quick. Power and time for the bonds, how many bonds there are, ultrasonic power. Again, this is all explained in the manual. You'll have to read through it. But I'm going to go ahead and just verify that this bond head is working properly, and then I'll go back and set it up for the ball bonder. And we'll ship it to you as a ball bond setup, which is the, I'll switch this back. It'll be set to your 7700E model. And one thing about shipping it, that we do have all the shipping brackets. We'll install them prior to shipping it to you. Just be aware that you need to remove all the brackets. I'll send you a copy of what's in the manual. I typically paste that on the machine to show you how to remove the shipping brackets, so that you can go ahead and start bonding. Alright, that's our video demonstration for the Westbond 74, 76, 77E series, either ball, wedge, or deep access wedge wire bonder.